Okay, g'day again. Right, we're on the ST1100 Honda. This is the wind deflector that I mentioned in the last video, and I've pre-mixed my resin. I've pre-cut all the fiberglass matting. I've made the bolt pieces, which you'll see shortly, and I just went to get my roller out of the box and it's not in there, and I'm having to use a roller that's not the best one I have, and I'm rather disappointed that I've already mixed the resin because now I don't have time to figure out where it is. Anyway, we shall proceed. Okay, alright, I've pre-cut. So I've masked all this up. Oh, what I haven't done, I'm still not prepared. I haven't waxed it. It's a little bit late for doing this, but it probably wouldn't matter that much anyway. It's masked up, it's not going to stick to the job. And even after we wax it, it'll probably still stick to the tape anyway. But yeah, not an issue. Tape can be cleaned off with a bit of hammering anyway. And you're also supposed to wait for this to dry and polish it, but we haven't got time for that. Instead, I'm trying to be all prepared, and for some reason, probably because I'm making a video about it, I forgot two things. Okay, now I've got to wipe this wax off my hands before I touch the matting. Okay. Right, so we've got our first piece of matting here. And I've pre-drilled the holes, I've pre-made the bolt plates that go into it. So a bit of resin on it and then it'll stay in place. Okay, so we wet it all out. It'll stay there now. This is one of those jobs where quite often you need 3 hands or more. Thoroughly wet that out. You notice it becomes transparent. Also got a second piece, and I need to try and line this up with the holes. Okay. You'll see why I'm putting the second pieces on very shortly. I'll find my second piece. On the ground. So another thing that you ever noticed, trying to show somebody something, things don't go right. You're always dropping things, mucking around, misplacing things. I don't know what's with that, but anyway. Okay. Yeah, once that, you see it, most of this has now become clear, and this is a bodgy little roller. It's actually for getting in tight corners, but overall it's not that good a great a roller. What I'm doing here is getting the resin to soak completely into the glass and getting out the air bubbles. So the issue with this little roller is it doesn't actually roll that well. And you also, yeah, so you don't want any air bubbles underneath glass. Air bubbles are a weakness. Cause your job to crack. If they're near a surface, yeah, if you go to cut it, run it back, they then become a hole. So, yeah. And this, I'd already be finished this if I had the roller I intended to use, the one I normally use, but okay, I'll get back in the resin. Now I can try and locate the holes. Use these plates, and normally I weld bolt in a plate and then I'll drill a series of holes. But this time I thought, oh, I'll just use a mesh, it's already full of holes, but it was so thin that I really struggled to weld it. Knowing this, well, firstly I went looking for some brass, couldn't find any, and then I tried a piece of copper and that actually bonded to it, and yeah, I had trouble getting it off, but then I used a sheet of fibro. Two of them went alright, the other one didn't go so well, it's bubbling up into the middle for some reason. Anyway, we got it done. So, these are the plates. Yeah, try and line those holes up. Okay, cool. The reason I put a double layer under these plates is so that it can press into it. And what you have is you have the I might pull a bit of the glass through. There's nothing I can do about that now, but that would probably be a problem getting it off because the glass will be holding it in. Resin. So anyway, I did pre-cut the holes, but I didn't actually manage to line what that was. What I'm doing now is I'm putting the nut on the back, which I'm going to do up, and just finger tight. You don't want to do it up real tight because you don't want to squeeze the resin out of the fiberglass and be just left with the fibres. So I'm just doing it up finger tight, enough so it pulls into the resin, becomes one with the resin, and also so it doesn't move. Okay, that's one. With fiberglass, once you mix it, you only got a limited amount of time. So you want to pre-prepare everything you can before you mix the resin. And for that reason, I also do things wherever possible overnight, because you get a much longer time. Alright, now the second piece. Which way? This way. No, that way. Okay, put that over the top. We'll wet that out again. I hope I don't run out of time on this resin, considering two things I didn't have prepared, the waxing, and also I didn't find my roller, so I spent 10 minutes looking for the roller and didn't even manage to find it. So where that's got to, I don't know, because as I said, this is never an issue before because I always put it back in the same place, and for some reason I haven't, so who knows where that is. I'm putting a fair amount of resin on that. Notice that I've got everything masked up because this stuff does drip, run, go everywhere, sticks to everything. If you're masking up, don't use paper. It'll soak straight through the paper and bond to whatever is underneath it, or spoil whatever's underneath it. So yeah, mask with plastic. This tape, yeah, as I say, don't mask with paper. And this tape is sort of a plasticky sort of mask anyway, so we get away with that. Well, you notice there's air bubbles in there. And this is the issue you get with fiberglass. Any sort of sharp edge, you get air on it, and it's very hard to get rid of. And I probably won't be able to get that out at all, so I'm considering I've already wasted an amount of time. I'm not going to even bother trying. So yeah, it's bonded in to the glass underneath. It's not going to really matter that much. So yeah, the main real important thing is it's actually soaked into the glass. Yeah, the glass fibres. You push the air out, and it comes back, it comes back. That, I don't know what you do as best you can. We'll get away with it on this anyway. That's a wind deflector. It'll be plenty strong enough. It'll actually be stronger than the plastic that it's bonded to anyway. So pull that over the edge a little bit, just stretching that. Okay. Now we have the piece that you saw me, although I showed in the previous video. This is a block of foam that they use for flower arrangements. You can buy from the florist. It's quite cheap, and it's very, very soft. And you just carve it with a knife. You can carve it with your finger. You can actually see the dents from my fingers, and that's from just doing this. And I haven't actually put that much pressure on it. You know? Oh, hang on. I'm going to coat that with the resin first. I was intending to do that, but I've almost forgot. So by coating that with resin, that will also help bond it to it, get rid of the air. Okay, we'll push that into it just a little. Right, I'm going to coat it with resin again. The other thing about this foam is it's extremely light. So yeah, it's not going to be any issue at all leaving it in there. Drag a bit down in there. And what we're going to get when we lay this next bit of glass, is we're going to get air bubbles in there. We also won't be able to get rid of. Whether they cause an issue is yet to be seen when we trim it up. If they do, you know, if we end up with holes in there, well then we'll just fill them up with resin. Okay. Yeah. The thing with fiberglass is it does not like bonding over corners. What I've done here is I've pre-bent, pre-folded the fiberglass in the hope that it will actually work. And then we have to see whether this is actually going to bond properly over the corners. Okay, it's going to sit up there, so we'll tear that out a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Some resin on it. I've done quite a lot of fiberglass, but this is sort of something I haven't done a lot of, is like bonding one piece to the other in one go. So if I have an issue with this, we're both going to learn at the same time. Normally with sort of these sort of jobs, they'd be made in a mould. You know, and the edges would be cut, cleaned. You'd lay another bit of glass between each piece and then join them together. So, but I think we can successfully do this in one go. I think. As I said, whether it works or not, we're both going to find out shortly. This whole thing's moving. Enough resin on it. Start laying it out. In this job, because of the green base, you'll be able to better see the air bubbles coming out of it. You'll see me going backwards and forwards over stuff, you know, like I'll press these. Yeah. These in, and I'm going to roll it out here. Up here it'll pull me out again. You just got to keep going over it. I imagine we're going to get some air pockets in there. As I said, I may well have to cut the joints open and redo them. So we shall find out. You can see in there, I'm getting air bubbles trapped in there. That's because those little finger dents that I left in the foam. I'm having an issue with air bubbles on this top edge. I'm still having trouble with it moving too. This whole thing is moving. Looks like I'm going to have to hold it Get resin all over my hands now. Let's do it. Roll this edge down. Probably should wear a pair of gloves. If you've got hands that, a skin that's really sensitive, you wouldn't be doing this with your fingers. You'd be putting gloves on. This is not actually working very well. Maybe I should have cut this edge, this underside edge, which you can't actually see because it's on the other side of the camera. This underside edge is not staying put, it's lifting out. I mean, it will still join to the glass that's on the underside. That's why I left the underside glass overhanging, but the overhanging glass is actually causing a problem because it's pushing out the fiberglass that's I've put over the top. And even though I folded this, we've got a huge air bubble under it. Not something I wanted. But as I said, in this sort of job, there's not a whole lot of strength required. I'll get away with it. I mean, you'd still have, to break it, you still have to belt it with a hammer or something to break it anyway, even though it's full of bubbles. I mean, it'd be different if it was, a main fairing or the side of a boat or something, where you've got a lot of flexing and stuff going on. I don't normally do this with my fingers, but anyway. There's probably some professional fiberglasses laughing their head off right now. But anyway. As I said, I've done a lot of fiberglass, but this is a first in joining layers together in this fashion. Yeah, as I said, I would normally in most cases, you'd do this in 2 goes. Hasn't gone as well as I wanted to. I'm not even sure if I want to put the second layer on there. Just wondering whether I'd actually leave the second layer until it's finished and cleaning up and dried again, but no, we'll continue. As I said, this is not a high strength piece. It shouldn't really matter that much. It'll be getting sanded. I'll be cutting into these joins along here and filling the gaps with resin. And we'll be getting puttied, sanded, painted, so yeah, there's still a fair bit of work to be done with it, and there's nothing so far that on this that can't be corrected later. Can't be corrected after it's finished, after I've finished making the actual thing. So we'll get away with it. What I will do, if you're interested, I'll do another follow-up. Do a follow-up on this, and I'll also do some more fiberglassing, which I'll show you in a minute. I put highway pegs on this, and the bottom half of the fairing was broken, and I couldn't actually put the squareness of the fairing wasn't going to allow me to legs to get onto where I wanted to put the highway pegs, so yeah, I said the bottom half was broken, so I've remade it. Yeah, and that's proving to be difficult too, but yeah, this is something I'll show you shortly. Okay, give that another roll there. Yeah, what I don't do is try to save brushes. Yeah, you see me using an old ice cream bucket. And the brush costs $1.50. So, yeah, I'm not going to waste, $5 worth of acetone trying to wash out a $1.50 brush. You don't take it out of the container and just put the brush in the container. Actually, you don't put it in the bin. You just throw it outside. For one, you don't, like it's night time, I've got the shed locked down, doors down, fire going, etc, etc. I've got enough fumes in here already, so I'll dump the container and the brush outside for the time being. And the main reason you don't put it in the bin is because fibreglass can actually catch on fire. I've had it happen. I tend to make mixes fairly hot. I use more catalyst than is recommended, which is what they call a hot mix. And the reason for that is the worst thing that can possibly happen is that it doesn't go off. If you don't put enough catalyst in there and it doesn't go off, then you've wasted your time, you've wasted the resin, the glass, and then you've got to try and clean it off, wash it all, start again. Yeah, if it goes off halfway through the job, you just stop what you're doing, you wait for it to set, you clean up, and then you go again. Sandbag it where you have to lay more glass on. It's not the end of the world, Yeah. But yeah, as I said, I've had a tub of resin. The job itself didn't catch on fire, didn't smoke, but I've had the tub that the resin was in catch on fire. So, which at the time wasn't that much of an issue. It was sitting outside in the dirt. Oh yeah, it's on fire. No drama. had it been in the bin, then it would have been a drama. You see there where I pushed it? I pushed the resin out of the glass. I have to work the resin back into the glass there. That's the same reason why you don't why I didn't tighten the bolts up into that plate, where I've only just done them finger tight. You can still see air bubbles up around the top. Yeah, as I said, they're under 2 layers of glass, and this is the heavy glass. If I'd used the lighter glass, actually, well, this is a 600 gram, what used to be 8 ounce before Australia went metric. Yeah, if I'd used the 450 gram, I probably wouldn't be getting as many bubbles in it. But then I'd need to put twice as many layers on it. And you see me trying to get those spiky points down. There's also a reason for that, because when I go to take it off, those spiky bits will stick into you, they'll break off, and because they're transparent, they're a bugger to get out. You can't see them. You can feel them, you can't see them. So just think of having a splinter into you that you can't see to get out. So, but yeah, because the sharpness of that bend, that's why we're getting air bubbles under it both sides. It's too sharp. But I think probably the better idea would have been to do this in several goes. To put bottom layers on, let it set, trim it off, stick this on, do the front, let it set, trim it off, do the back, let it set. And we'd have avoided these air bubbles, but as I said, they're under 2 layers of glass, so it's not really going to be an issue. They'll be getting puttied over anyway. So, alright, well that's about as much as I want to do with that. Now even this, I'm not even going to wash this. I'm going to stick that in the fire, burn that off. Once it's burned off, I'll pull it out and run it on the wire wheel, put a bit of WD in the ends, and it'll be good to go again. Okay, the only thing I'm going to clean with acetone is my hands. Yeah. As I said, if you've got very sensitive skin, put gloves on. Yeah. Just use rag for this. Oh, sorry about that. I'm making you dizzy here. Fine. Yeah, the rag will soak up more of the acetone, and you get a bit of resin, a bit of fiberglass on the glass fibres on it, and that's the end of your rag, and throw it away. Get a new one. So, but yeah, one paper towel's a whole lot better. Where did I put the other bit? I'll stick with this. I'll show you the back of the job, even though I'd prefer not to, because it's actually the worst part of the job. The front come up quite reasonable. We've got a little bit of an air bubble underneath, about halfway along. The other side's got, it's pretty much one big air bubble. But as I said, we'll get away with it. It's got 2 layers of heavy glass, and the 2 layers are bonded together. The air bubble is underneath it between the fiberglass and the foam. So we'll get away with that. That'll still be plenty strong enough. As I said, once it's sanded down, puttied, painted, nobody will know anyway. Okay. Right. Yeah, and I've got the got my hands clean. I'll put the lid back on this. It's acetone. This stuff will evaporate. This is a half-litre bottle. Now on a sunny day, if I sat out in the sun with the lid off, that whole bottle will evaporate within the hour. And the stuff is extremely flammable. Yeah, that'll ignite from a cigarette. Yeah. Okay. Right. This. Yeah. As I said, this is not my best ever fiberglass, but sort of a bit embarrassing actually, because normally I'd do a better job than that. But anyway, as I said, we'll get by. Now, that's what I'll show you, and I'll do another fiberglass tutorial. Pull my chair over. This, if you watched other videos on this bike, I've had pegs, so I have no issues, and I find that the footrests are too far back to be comfortable over a long trip. And so I made a copy of the original fairings. They're a 2-piece, or 3-piece. You got the 1, 2, and then you got another one. So I've made the bottom 2 pieces into 1 piece, and I made a copy of it, and then I've had to cut out this piece here. So as I said, this here, so I can get my leg through. I couldn't get my legs around the squareness of the original. Now, all this here is an exact copy. You see it's smooth, it was moulded off, the original. And, I had to cut away this part of it here and reshape it. And I didn't like it. And then trying to get the other side exactly the same, where just even on that bit there, it's really getting difficult. And it's also part of the reason why I gave up on it for the time being, is I just wasn't happy with it. And sometimes when you're doing things and you're concentrating, and you can't see the obvious. It's been well over a year since I did these pieces. And, I got them out yesterday, and I dragged the bike out, put the fairings back on there, and it was obvious straight away why I didn't like it. And it's because the cutaways don't match the engine. The lines don't match. And as I said, this is designed off the original fairing. This is the angle that the original fairing's at. Now, why they put it at that angle is beyond me. It's not even level. I mean, the bike's up in the centre stand, so it obviously should have come down a little bit, but it's not even level. It sticks up in the air towards the taillight. It's friggin' ridiculous. And, that was the whole of the reason why I didn't like it. So, as you can see, I'd already stuck one bit of cardboard because this was a bit rounded, and I cut it off, tried to make it straight, and it was then that I realised what the issue was. So I'll put another bit of cardboard in there. What I'll do is I'll build that up with putty now, and then I'll smooth it off. I'll lay just a thin layer, just one layer of fiberglass over the top of that, which will be temporary for reasons I'll tell you in a minute. And you can see a whole lot of lines on the top. It's because I'm working out where I'm going to cut that. Now obviously this line here is not going to match this line anymore. It'll be open, but I think that will be a whole lot better than having these two lines not lining up with the engine. So yeah, this is where I'll be cutting it, along here. I was going to cut it there, but I decided I'll cut it back. That way I've still got my corners intact. Cut it there, cut it down, and I'll just leave that little bit underneath, and then I'll pull it down until it's level with there, join it back on, fill it all in. Instead I'll lay one layer of glass over the outside of this, then I'll take it off and I'll grind it all off on the inside, grind the putty off back to the glass, and then I'll put 2 or 3 layers of glass on the inside, and then I'll grind this outer layer of glass off, like the layer that I put over this putty will eventually be ground off, and it'll be ground off till it gets back, probably not completely to the inner layer of fiberglass, but if there's a little bit of putty in there it won't matter, but as long as it's straight. And once I put the glass on the outside of here, it'll be sticking out too far. Like it's only a mil or so, but to make up a mil here, you'd have to bring putty right back to here. You'd be amazed how far back you have to go to hide a mil of height. So yeah. And I've just discovered that I can't buy the stickers from Honda. I can buy, like the wings that go on the tank and the actual name badges. I can't get the stripes or anything, so we'll have to work out something else there. Anyway, it's been a long video, so hope I haven't bored you to death. And so if you like the video, do us a favour, hit the like please. Okay, thanks for watching.